So just to start, we were given 5 tables, which is mostly from operational database. And using those 5 tables, in order to get the data for them, this is the link where you download those files, and in DB where you just went here and go to the database that you can create using the script, the landing zone that you can create using this script. So once you get this script, you created a landing zone. And in that landing zone, it looks something like this. You went and then you can just do import data, and you imported all the tables that is provided in this link. So once all the data is there, then you were given these business requirements. You have to create dimension tables. So calendar dimension table, hopefully it makes sense. It's just SDC type 0. So once you put it, there's no change to it at all. Store dimension and product dimension would be SCD type 2 tables. So there is definitely some code that you have to configure there. The first fact table, which is sales inventory store daily, the only thing different that you have to do after joining everything is to set up a low column flag, low stock flag. And once you have that done, which is basically how much sales you did versus how much stock on hand quantity you have. So you can see, you can get daily sales. If you aggregate this table, you can get sales quantity. So for example, in a day you sold 2 things, but if you go to your inventory table on that day, your inventory on hand would be 3, would be 1. So your inventory on hand was less than your sales quantity, and that means you have a low stock flag there. So that's what this is saying, and it makes sense. If you sold more products than you had on hand, definitely you didn't have stock there. Weekly fact sales table then goes and builds, and it basically uses quite the same fields like on the weekly level, but there are few more fields added to it. Number one, stock on hand quantity, which is on every Saturday, which is the last day. You just go and calculate the stock on hand. So that's all. It's no sum or nothing. It's just counting that stock on hand. Then stock on order, exactly same thing, but for stock on order. Out of stock times. Now you go to, you can either go to your fact table, or if you want, you can go to these tables, and you have to figure out how many times there were out of stock flag. Then there is in stock flag, which meant, I think, which meant that you have things in stock, like there's no problem there, which is right here in stock flag. So you're just counting in stock flag. And then there's a low stock flag, which we already talk about the logic for that. So those are the tables you have to create, and then we will throw these values in these tables just to see if things are updated correctly or not. So that was the goal. So landing zone, I'm not going to run it because it takes a lot of time to put things into these tables, but hopefully this is pretty straightforward, what this DDL meant. So hopefully this makes sense. Now this is the script for business zone or analytics zone. And it's basically the columns that are already showed to you. It's just those columns in DDL, and that's what you are creating. So I hope that that's pretty straightforward as well. I can run this, so I can just execute this script and it will just go one by one and execute these tables. Because I run it right now, that means all of these tables will be empty. So then I go into DML. So let's check to make sure if things are empty. So this is my sales invoice daily table, and you can see that it's completely empty right now. This is my product dimension table. So if I run this, it is completely empty as well. So both things are completely empty. Let's write the DML. So DML based on the lecture, I think it's pretty straightforward. So let me know if you have any questions there. Store dimension, it's going to be type 2 SCD. That means with every type 2 SCD comes two merge statements. One merge statement is when not matched, and the other one is when matched. So we will go and do the exact same thing when these things are not matched. That means something has changed. We have to insert these values. We are also inserting with everything, the active flag, the start date, and the end date. Start date is the current date, while the end date is null, because you're inserting new values. And then there is one more statement. So let's run this. So this is going to input a few things. So you can see 151 rows are inputted in there. And store dimension, this is when things are not, so things do match at the store key level because it's a store dimension, but it doesn't match on other levels. So that means that row has been expired. So that's when matched. So I will do that, and this should have no results for now. Product dimension, basically the same idea. So I won't go on to explaining this. So 12, 15 rows are inserted because this table is empty. And then 6 rows are updated. So I thought I cleaned up product dimension. But I guess, even if putting it straight, there are some things there. Okay, I don't know what's happening. Let me run it again. And still, so I think there is something. So there shouldn't be any rows going in. But rows are getting updated. So I guess I will have to dig into it, is where the product key are saved. Oh, I think this is going to be a data type problem. That's why this is happening. So I have to check all the data types. And so in reality, there is no change happening. It's just because the data type is different, it's not matching up here. So it will just keep on updating, but it's really not. It's setting some end dates, but yeah. So that's issue here, but it should be fine for us right now. Okay, let's go to calendar table. Calendar table is SCD type 0. So once we put it into there, our calendar call, like all the data that we have, we never have to think about this. Fact tables, very similarly to the lecture, is going to be starting from the last date. It's completely empty, so there's no last date in there. Then we will delete it. There's nothing to delete. Writing this fact table is just, the grain. It's just sum and averages. So hopefully it makes sense that the quantity should be summed, amount should be summed, price should be averaged, because if there are multiple products, so for every single product in every single store, you might have different prices. But if you want to know, because I want to convert it into one row, so hopefully it makes sense that if I do average price and then times by the quantity, I will always get the exact same amount. Then comes the sales cost, sales margin. These are sum, discount, again, total discount. If I take an average of it and times it by the sales quantity, it's going to give me the exact same discount that I provided. And ship cost. I will do NVL again, and I will do last date greater. So last date is going, if right now we don't have any last date, so it's going to go 1900. But once we have last date, it will just populate from that point on. But right now we don't have a last date. So that's that. There's no updated rows in there. Now, this is, I think, so this one was daily sales stage. So we are still just creating stages. So this is not the final table. Then we are going to create the inventory stage. So that's the inventory stage. Very similar to sales stage, but because inventory stage is just going to join, and I and the grain of the inventory stage is already set up as the grain that I want in the end. So I really don't need to aggregate it at all. Now, having said that, what we have to do is once we are creating the final table, we will just, so this is just a simple collace because this information is in both sales table and inventory table. Everything else, because that's where all the aggregation was for these values, is coming from sales table, while stock on hand, ordered, stock out of order, which are inventory columns, will we will get from inventory columns. If something is out of flag, out of stock, that means it's not in stock, and that's why you can see if something is out of stock, that means false, else true. That's a case statement for in stock. And for low stock, if the sales quantity is more than the stock on hand, then it will be said low stock. Uh, Otherwise, it's going to be not a low stock. So hopefully it makes sense that it's comparing. So this stock on hand is the end of the day stock. This is how many sales it happens. So this thing haven't gone out of stock yet. There were 5 sales that happened today. And at the end of the day, I have 4 left. I will go out of stock the next day, not today. That's why it's not getting characterized in out of stock. It would be a low stock flag. That means that I'm very likely to get out of stock tomorrow. Now, this is starting from sales table, but we are doing full outer join. The reason is we want all of our products to be there, even if they have no sales done. The problem with, for example, if I would have gone inner join, it means sales were done and we had things in inventory. If I would have done left join, that means sales are done, but we might not have inventory for them and they will be ignored. But in reality, I want all the products that we sold, as well as product that we have no sales for, but we still have them in inventory. And that's why it goes full outer join here. Once that happens, so I think, did I do that already? No. So this is when I create my fact table. So there's a lot of rows in there, and you will see that this is how it looks, very similar to what our requirements were. Now, in the week table, we are going to build it on top of our daily fact table and calendar dimension. So daily fact table has a lot of stuff in it. So which we can use to build our weekly fact table. And again, this weekly fact table will be refreshed. Like I think the last day of the week is Saturday, so you can refresh it on Sunday. Very similar way of counting things here. So weekly sales quantity is just sum, price is just average. So it's very similar to what we saw for our daily table. The only difference is stock on hand should be of Saturday. So that only that value should get here. We don't really care about Monday value, Tuesday value, and that's why there is that case one statement. Ordered stock, very similar idea. We just care about Saturday. So this is end of period or end of week for us because our period is week. So there is that filter that's been done. Then we have to figure out how many things got out of stock. So we are just counting. As soon as we hit something as true, we do one, and these ones will get counted. Now, if I would have done some, very similar answer. So count and sum here are interchangeable. So it doesn't matter if you do sum or count. Here, they will give the exact same answer. In stock, very similar idea. Low stock, very similar idea. Whenever you hit this flag, make it one, and then you just count how many ones you collected. And that's that. So we will just going to run this, and then this will result on a weekly sales table for us. Okay, now the question becomes, let's do a delta load. And once we do the delta load, we should see, so hopefully you can see a few things here. So if I run this now, it's from January to 30th of December. So our data is from January to 30th of December. And if I do here on our product, there are two products like this. So if I run this command, there were two products that were showing up. Let's see if we add some changes. So we are inserting some values for 31st, 1st, and 2nd. So that's one thing that we are doing. We are also updating the inventory for the exact same dates. So that's that. We are updating a product name for a certain product. We will do it for the other product as well. And then we will go ahead and do it for Walmart, or add one more product as well. Okay, let me run my DML again. So that means as soon as these updates comes in, you run all these scripts and they should reflect what you updated for. So I'm just going to run this whole script again. So it's going to go and update everything, set everything, create all those tables. And then if I go in my checkup zone, now you can see that those 2 days were added. So that means my scripts work incrementally. As well as if I look for these products, you will see that there are two changes and one addition added to these tables. So that means SCD type 2 is also working, and you can see things that were old are already closed down as well. So that means all that is working, and so yeah, so everything is looking good.